Xbox, Record This is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. If you'd like to find out more, head to xboxrecordthis.com. Oh, hello. DaddyDWALLY here, and welcome to Xbox Record This, episode 37. And for our new listeners, this is straight for Bubble Boy. Our podcast, our little podcast, Xbox Record This, is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food especially, and the good old days. So welcome if you're new to the show. You probably just heard that because I do that at the beginning of the show, but Chance insisted that we do that. So joining me, as always, the assistant to the co-host, Mr. Jose Martinez, Chipotle Bear. Chipotle Bear, how are you?
I am doing great this evening. It is we got a 3-day weekend coming up. That always feels good going into Friday with that. Other than that, just happy to be here. Got lots to talk about in the gaming world. Excited to talk about Chapter 4 of Power On. There was a lot of nostalgia in this one for me. So super great to be here, man.
Me as well. And thank you for reminding me for the MLK 3-day weekend. Always good. This has literally been like the longest week of my life at work. I don't know what's going on. And very concerning because we haven't even reached April and May, which are the terror months. So joining us as always, the assistant to the co-host, Mr. Chance Siegel, aka Seinfeld's own Bubble Boy N7. How are you?
Happy to be here. Just finished Disco Elysium tonight.
Oh my gosh.
And also looking forward to a 3-day weekend, yeah.
This guy, you guys, is a machine. I forgot to tell you, so let's just actually get
I don't
into
understand. You guys both got to level 100 when I was still at like 50 on that battle pass of Halo. It's not that I'm a machine. It's that I just don't play as much Halo as the two of
we haven't been playing that much Halo either. It's literally the double XP, and when they increased it, it's a joke. You'll go up like 5 levels.
I did.
At the beginning
I've done
of
it too.
day.
I've been doing that.
We'll get to that in a second. I wanted to say, speaking of just blowing through games and gamer score and whatnot, we've got a shout out here as usual. XRT is one of the #1 fans. Shout out to Xbacongamn. And I'm not going to lie, Xbacon, I was concerned because I didn't receive any kind of notification that you had commented on the YouTube, but I just checked like 10 minutes ago, and sure enough, there was a comment from old reliable. Xbacon writes in, he says, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the GOAT of the Creed games. Ooh, bad take right there. And the melee elbow in Halo is just the GOAT weapon, is also the GOAT weapon. Absolutely true on that one, Bacon. And he said Smelling need to step up his game if he is jealous of the XRT podcast. So non-shout out there. It's actually Snella or Snelling there, Bacon. I don't blame you. Snelling or Snella. So shout out to Bacon. Jose, go ahead. Do you have any response to Bacon's shout out and comments there? Especially Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Too bloated. Just, I can't believe I did everything in that game. It was out of spite. Origins and 4 and 2 are way better. Bacon, bad take. Go ahead, Jose.
Honestly, I really like. I still don't know if it's my favorite. I still think Black
Number
Flag
one,
is, but
exactly.
I loved Odyssey. I thought Odyssey was really, really great. The way they did so many things. So I'm fully with you.
Better than 4 and 2, Jose.
I think that's hard. No. I think that's hard to argue. But it was really great, man. Both stories, right? I think it was awesome, man.
Chance,
better than 4, not better than 2.
Better than 4. Oh, okay. X-Bacon.
We've already.
This guy's.
I don't know why you're acting all surprised. We just did this. Like
I guess I forgot. It's just blasphemy that anything is rated higher than 4 and 2. Let's be real. So I wanted to bring up Bacon as well, Chance, because you just finished yet another game somehow. I don't know how he does it, you guys. This kid's a freak.
I don't either.
Bacon had written to me. He said his goal this year, and we're going to get into this in a second. His gaming goal for this year was to get over 100,000 gamer score this year. And I was like, Bacon, if
just
you could
this year alone?
Yes, exactly. I was like, that's insane. And he's like,
he's on a tear though. Every time I'm on Xbox and I see what Bacon's playing, every time he's playing something different.
What's his score right now?
100. Think of it this way: that's 100 games that you have to get 1,000 out of 1,000 on. Okay, which is crazy.
He must be doing it with Game Pass. Let me say
and that's exactly what he said. He's like, "What are you talking about, Wally? I've got Xbox Game Pass, the greatest deal in gaming, and that's how I'm going to do it." So, Bubble Boy, why don't you lead us into the? I like warm up question, but you call this our XRT opener. So go ahead. Let's jump into it.
That could have been a mistake. I think I probably used to call them warm ups. I don't know. I had been listening to the Handsome Phantom the other day podcast, and
I thought so. I thought you.
Yeah, one of the topics that they had was their 2022 gaming resolutions.
Wait. I'm going to interrupt you right here. Shout out to the Handsome Phantom podcast.
Yes.
Ben, we need to get you on here. Okay. I'm going to clip this and send it to you directly. Okay. Bubble Boy down there, or to wherever he is on the screen, was almost cried because you didn't make it. So, I just gave away the surprise.
Didn't make what?
Anyway, I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
Making the treats.
So please shout out to the Handsome Phantom podcast. I have to say I do enjoy listening to them. They're on my regular rotation now. I didn't know they existed. They're just a bunch of calm dudes from Pennsylvania talking games. So I appreciate it. Similar to us, only we bring Colorado swag, a little bit more food and anger.
I've really enjoyed it and seen so many similarities. Today's they spent. Or the one when I listened to it today, they spent like the first 10 minutes talking about mashed potatoes and gravy. I was like, yeah, I'm a fan. So anyway, they had one of them, I think it was Brandon, had come up with the idea of gaming resolutions. So things like, or goals is another way you could put it. And I usually don't like New Year's resolutions. I'm like, if you want to make like a positive change in your life, just do it. Don't wait for some arbitrary date. But I really did like this idea. And so I ended up putting 5 down that isn't really 5, but kind of.
Let's have you go last, Chance. I want you to clean up here. I'll go first because mine are short and fast. How's it? Quick and fast. Okay, thank you. So my gaming resolutions for 2022, and I put in parentheses at least 3 according to Bubble Boy and 7. Number 1, this year I want to play what I want to play. If I want to play Mass Effect again, I'm going to play Mass Effect. If I want to play Batman Return to Arkham Asylum, guess what, guys? That I actually did just buy that, and that's the next game I'm going to play, and I can't wait. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to care less about Achievos. I'm not going to lie.
Betrayal.
You heard it first.
I can't do this.
XRT Nation.
I can't let them dominate me, especially like I really want to play Cyber Shadow, but it's got those 3-point achievements, and I can't let some stupid 3-point achievements prevent me from playing a game that I hear is phenomenal.
Thousands of years ago, they invented this thing called math, where you can keep it a round number if you do enough of them.
Okay, exactly. Too much effort, but
just 1,000 out of 1,000. Yeah,
I know. I don't want to do that either. I hate that. I only want to do it for games I like, or if it's reasonable. Like Guardians.
I think you've already broken it. It's January 13th, and you've already broken it.
How? What?
I'm just guessing. Guardians. I don't know.
No,
I have literally no proof.
Here's the thing.
Just assuming.
We'll talk about Guardians later. But that's my next one. Number 3 and final one is I want to celebrate XRT, our year anniversary. I want to have a big celebration. And hopefully the goal is to promote the podcast more at that point, because it shows we were committed for 1 year, and hopefully get some advertising, grow the podcast, and collaborate more. So that is my 3 goals for the year.
Jose,
what about you? Thank you.
Those were great, man. And you know what? I didn't include the podcast one, but I would definitely put that in there as
well.
I understand.
Fired.
Thank you. All right. And I'll see you guys later. No, the reality is there's no doubt in my mind. Like, I have no intention of stopping this anytime soon. Like, even I was a little worried coming out of summer, starting work again, especially in the pandemic. I was like, this is going to be hard to keep a regular schedule. But honestly, like, if anything, it gives me an excuse to talk to some of my best friends all week. You know what I'm saying? But also, it's been great, man. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But I actually made a top 5 list, since that's what we typically do. I went ahead and did that. I didn't put them in necessarily like importance, but the first one I wrote down was to finish Dark Souls 3. I already mentioned a couple episodes ago that I did purchase it. I have not started. I started Aliens Fireteam Elite. And I have thoughts. I'll share them once I get through the game. But as soon as I finish that, the next game I'm picking up is Dark Souls 3. You know, of course, in between playing Halo with the boys and that kind of stuff. And as an extension of that is to also finish Elden Ring. And so I kind of consider that one goal. I'm not a achievement hoe like both of you hoes, right? So I'm not worried about that aspect of it. But just this week, I actually saw like a 2-minute gameplay element of it that all it was titled on YouTube was like Elden Ring is beautiful, and it was just this scene of this guy running through this beach, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So I'm super excited to play that.
Can I interject? Does the George R.R. Martin, is that what moved the needle for you, or could you care less that he's involved?
Oh, I did not know George R.R. Martin was involved. So
so he helped with the writing in it.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's
okay.
a bonus. No, yeah. I actually think I really will like it. I think especially with the permission I have from our loyal fans that I can use a guide as I go along, I think helps a lot with that decision, because I think if I jumped in by myself, I think I would just be lost in a corner crying probably. Second one I've actually already started completing, and that was before last week. I was actually planning to buy an Elite Series 2 controller. I have a Series 1 and I absolutely love it, and I've played with it for a long time, and it's in perfect shape. And so I just had a hard time like justifying the Series 2, and then sure enough, the internet is undefeated again. They had incredible sales on the Series 2, and I was like, okay, that's it. It's my birthday month. My wife was like, what do you want? I was like, that is what I want for my birthday. So I picked it up, and it actually just came in a day or two ago. I've only gotten used it a tiny bit, but I really, really love it, man. And so the cool thing is with my old controller, I actually gave it to a friend at work because they're also huge Xbox fans. I introduced them to the podcast, and I was like, I don't want this to go sitting there unused. I feel like that's bad karma. So shout out to Ashley if she's listening, and hope you enjoy the new controller. And then as an extension of that goal of just buying the Elite Series 2, I also wrote down that I wanted to customize it. So some of you know that a couple months ago I started customizing shoes for fun, mostly for myself and for friends and stuff, not to sell or anything. But I learned how you can customize your own controller, and I really, really want to do that on my Elite Series 2, so I'm going to do that at some point this year. I'll let you guys know when that starts. The third one is just a simple, short one. It is to finish Forza 5. I love Forza. It's an incredible game, but there have been so many others that have come, AAA titles, non-AAA titles, that I honestly think it's a challenge to go back to it, only because it's a pretty daunting game, so that is a goal for me. And then also with the games, I know Dan's going to laugh at me, but I'm super serious. I really want to play Cyberpunk this year. It's still in its shrink wrap this year.
Jose, I want to too. I'm just waiting for that patch. I want it to be the complete
You guys
deal.
Don't need a patch. You both have a Series X. It'll run just fine.
I want it to be the next gen patch. I'm not doing
That's what it is. I don't need this. I don't need the patch because I'm worried about glitching. I think our Series X's will run it fine. But I do want the next gen patch. I've waited this long anyway. I don't think it matters. I feel like this is a good year for it to come anyway. So as soon as that happens, I'll play Cyberpunk. And then my very last one, I want to make a custom pair of Halo Vans to wear to school. And so I have some designs ready. I need to just buy the shoes and make it happen. But I know it's not totally video game related. It's a little bit of a cheat, but that's I'll keep that posted as well for you guys. Good. So those are my resolutions for this year. I feel like it's going to be a great year.
All right, Chance.
All right, yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. It's inspiring. Number 5 for me is to try to get Ashley to play with me, which I assume is gonna fail.
That's what she said.
Right? I assume that's gonna fail. So right underneath it, I put actually do some more actual playing with Cora. Like, she likes to play Forza, but she just likes to go in reverse,
likes
and
to destroy things.
Yeah,
Battletoads, Overcooked, and what's the other? And do It Takes Two with Ashley, and then maybe Cora too.
She has seen the trailer for it and been slightly intrigued. So, okay, number 3, and I think this one would be kind of fun because I do get stuck on the same kinds of games over and over. So number 3 would be play at least 5 Game Pass games that I wouldn't have otherwise, and I put in parentheses, maybe listener suggestions. So if you want to write in and say, hey, Bubble Boy, I want to see you play The Gunk, and give us a review on The Gunk, which I think Bacon and I talked a little bit about online the other day, I'll give it a shot because I just think that's kind of fun, and I'd love to hear some suggestions of games that, like I said, there's just so much on there, and it's not that I think they're skippable. It's just it's hard to jump into one sometimes when you're sifting through that catalog. Number two, my co-hosts here might appreciate this. They might not. But that would be to actually play more multiplayer games with them. Because I am definitely known for doing my single player epics and going to bed early. And really, that's
what was the
all
quote?
it takes.
What was the quote 2 episodes ago? We made it
I
to
was
bed
in
by
bed at
6:30.
6:45. Yeah. So and that's that's good for everybody if I play more multiplayer. And then number one, and this is as serious as it gets, and oh my goodness, I almost did it last week, and it's what made me think of this. No more, ever again, Ultimate editions that cost more than $60 for Bubble Boy and 7. Never again.
Ooh, that's a good
Never
one.
going to happen. We all know what happened with me in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the $120 version of that, as well as the $120 version of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. To Ubisoft, which I'm just like, and maybe I should have changed it to, I'm just not buying any more Ubisoft games.
Yeah, you can just get Ubisoft now.
Yeah, I don't care for that. But yeah, I'm really going to try. And I was like, ooh, what are the special editions of Elden Ring? And ooh, what are the, but nope, not doing it.
Sounds like you have a problem.
Very,
That's what it sounds
very,
like.
very good,
Yeah,
Chance.
so-
And, you're not the only one who was burned. Last year, I made a fatal flaw. I did have like $50 at Best Buy. I had some sort of free reward, and I bought the Ultimate Edition of Battlefield 2042.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I recently played that with Miggy and Alan. I'm just like,
And
he said
that's-
it
that
perfectly.
was
This
the-
game has no soul, and I'm like, he's absolutely right. Like it's Chance. I was even like, I don't really want to go back and play this, and I usually do with Battlefield. And, we can talk about that. We've talked about that poor game.
Well, and that was the one that I was like,
you were almost going to.
I
too.
almost had the 100, and it inspired me to do this one, right? Like, I'm sure it was just dumb luck, but I spent that. What did I spend that money on? I can't even remember now. Something way better.
Disco Elysium.
Popeyes.
I love that chicken from Popeyes. But no, and it's funny you say that about waiting. If you wait, eventually it's probably going to be on Game Pass. Literally, guys, I was this close during that last sale on the holiday sale, whatever it was, to buying Hitman 3. Like I was about to do it. And then look what happened. All three, and I haven't played all three of them. So what a treat.
I'm so excited for you. So excited.
And I've always wanted to, but I don't know. We'll get into that later. So great topic there. If you guys have any ideas for our warm-up /opener /good old days, please write to us at Xbox. Record this at gmail.com. Guys, let's skip what we've been playing. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, unless you really want to. Does anyone have anything real pressing? Chance, you mentioned Disco Elysium, or do you want to save it till next week so you can give a review on it?
No, I can do a full review next week.
Okay, sounds good. Quickly, I am at like chapter 10 of Guardians. I'm just ready for it to be over. It's not bad. It's just not great. It's almost too much dialogue. I've realized at this point in my life, and I was thinking about this for all of us, like it needs to have solid gameplay. If it's not, fun to do all the time, I don't care how great the story is. Like I got to get through. So that's all I've been playing. Chance speak. Jose, you started Aliens. We'll do that next week. Let's jump in to Xbox news very quick before we step into episode 4. First story is coming from, this is on VGC, and this was written by Tom Ivan. Take-Two is still looking for acquisition targets following a record Zynga deal. Take-Two plans to acquire the mobile game firm for $12.7 billion. Okay, Take-Two, you guys, they have franchises like GTA, Borderlands, NBA, 2K, BioShock, and they bought Zynga, which they are popular. Their popular gaming brands include Farmville and Words with Friends. Okay, I just wanted to quickly get some reactions to this, considering that how much did Xbox buy Bethesda for? Do any of you guys remember?
4.5?
No, 7.5 billion.
7.5.
Okay, so almost twice the amount Take-Two spent on Zynga. Bubble Boy, I see you shaking your head. Does this make any sense, or does this just show that mobile gaming must be making way more money than we think? Because that's
Well, they
what
do,
Zynga's
and we already knew
known
that,
for.
right? Jose's talked to us about how that's true and probably why that's true. and to me, it's not even gaming, right? Like Farmville is not gaming. Words with Friends is not gaming. That's it. I don't know. I know we don't want to get all negative and stuff, and great for Zynga. I wish I could have. My God, I can't even imagine some dude in his mom's basement that created Words with Friends, and then $12.7 billion later. But it's not gaming the way we think of gaming. And it's funny you said what they made, because I was going to be like, can you even name a Zynga game? But really, so take those two. Words with Friends, Farmville, $12.7 billion. Skyrim, Fallout,
Well,
7.5?
That's what I was just going to throw over to Jose. Jose, do you think this purchase is going to pay off? Which is going to pay off more, do you think? Microsoft's purchase of Bethesda and those IP, or Take-Two spending 12 point whatever billion on these Zynga and their mobile expertise?
So I know you're not going to like this answer, but Zynga is going to pay off way more.
Oh my gosh.
Well, but it depends how you define it.
Do you think that's a fair price?
In actual dollar amount?
Yes.
Then so it's going to pay off more in actual dollar amount.
Straight up, dude. Because the bottom line is, and that's why I agree with Chance, like, it's not that, like, personally, I would much rather own Bethesda.
Wait.
I'm much more excited for what Bethesda creates. But I'm saying, when you talk to a company, why do companies acquire other companies? It all comes down to money, right? Like, we've talked about this many times. They want to buy things that for basically a cheaper price than they're going to make from it down the road. Like, no one buys a company to lose money, right? Like, that's just not the way the system works. And so the reality is, like, Zynga is going to continue to make money. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if it'll make as much as it has, because, like, you're talking, like, Zynga became popular because, like, when mobile gaming first started, so you think about the advent of, like, touch phones, you think about the advent of, like, Facebook gaming, that's where Zynga really, like, got its, like, power from. Like, that's where people joined. And it's not just the gamers like us, it's like people like my grandmother, my parents, our teachers, your coworkers, right? Like,
let me interrupt you right there, Jose.
No, hang on.
Wait, no, let me ask you real quick. Besides just between the three of us, have any of you guys spent any money on mobile games recently?
No, I have not.
And do you think your parents and grandparents are realistically I'm just curious. I want to look up the financials of how much Zynga is making on these games, because I don't know anybody who's actually been like, yeah, I've been buying games. Like, maybe, I don't know why that. I'm talking about my random family.
It's not about buying games.
Actually,
it's
no,
about
I take
all
it back.
those
I have
little microtransactions, right? It's people playing Candy Crush and being like, ooh, well, I'm out of lives. It's only $1 and I get unlimited for the next half hour, or like things like that. Like, or
I guess
Words
I'm just
with Friends.
so...
I'd rather not have ads. And
so mine is not that.
Listeners, write in and let us know. I'm basically so detached from mobile gaming. Like, I just have
So here's an example. Really, all it takes is the right game for people. So yes, I have never spent money on Words with Friends. I played for a little bit when it came out. I agree with Chance that, like, there was some dude in his basement who was like, I need an idea, and he saw Scrabble and was like, I'm stealing it, right? And now he's selling it for billions of dollars. Like, I'm definitely jealous, right? I wish I could have done that. But so I would never spend money on that. I probably wouldn't have spent it on Farmville, or, I did Candy Crush for a while. My wife loves Candy Crush, and I think she spent she probably spent $5 over the course of her entire time with it. What I have spent money on is Pokemon Go, right? And I know that's different, and I know that's a different IP, but it's still the same principle. All you need is the right game, and exactly what Chance said, it's the microtransactions and the fact that, yes, Bethesda is really more important for, like, hardcore traditional gamers, but there's such fewer of us in that category compared to everyone with a cell phone. You see what I'm saying? And here's the thing. A lot of people misconceive and think that the money they're making are, like, accidents. It's because we see those news stories early on in the internet where, like, young boys spend $17,000 on upgrades from, like, Candy Crush. That's very rare. And a lot of companies have actually built in safeguards to prevent that, because that's like cheating to win. And ultimately, like, that's not going to help you win in the long run. These are truly, genuinely people who put their money in. And the reality is, what's becoming more commonplace is people don't see apps and games as just a waste of time anymore. Like, people are starting to value and say, look, I understand what this app does, whether it's a game or a utility or whatever. I'm willing to throw $2 at it, $5 at it. Even like we talked about, like, the soundboard I use. Like, some people would think it's crazy that I spent $50 on a soundboard for my computer, but, like, if I was going to buy a soundboard in the store, you know how much a soundboard costs at, like, Best Buy? Way more than that, right? So it's really all about utility for individual people. And so I think the Zynga thing is it's not a terrible buy, right? But Zynga's not going to be making AAA titles for consoles anytime soon. So it is interesting that Take-Two chose that route. It does seem like it's entirely like a moneymaker, but maybe it's also a way to finance other bigger projects that they want to do. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I guess if they have $12 billion to spend, good for them, man, because that is not a lot of a price that a lot of other companies have.
That's that's what surprises me. So like, this is a huge amount of money. Like we thought Bethesda was crazy. Like this literally is almost twice as much and blows it away. So I don't know. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I personally just couldn't care less about mobile gaming. I don't see, like you say that, yes, everyone has a phone, but not everyone even games on their phone, Jose. Well, let's just assume, like,
it's not gaming. And I'm not saying that like,
well, you know what I mean. Playing
it's time. It can be time wasters. It can be, I ride the subway to work, and you got to think about all the other countries worldwide, right? Like Jose was saying, everybody in the world, it seems like, has a phone, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody has an Xbox.
True.
All that being said, what's going to be a more profitable in terms of bang for your buck or pound for pound, if you will? I sure hope it was buying Bethesda, and I think Starfield could be what Halo was back then, right?
Yeah, let's hope. Starfield. Go ahead, Jose.
I was just going to say, I would actually argue the Zynga purchase is actually a little more risky than the Bethesda one, because the Bethesda one,
sure.
It's a slow burn, and like you're only going to get games every couple of years, but like you're also guaranteed to basically sell those games.
You're guaranteed
any Fallout
known
game,
IP.
any Elder Scrolls game, you're going to sell, because they're already an equation that works. Like we already know that those are popular. I feel like Starfield's going to do the same thing. So that's a solid bet, even though it's cheaper and less less frequent. The Zynga one, like it's quick money for now, but again, all it takes is some weird massive disruption in the phone market. Like just for a second,
Wordle.
imagine if all. Well, I was thinking more like the hardware. Like all of a sudden, what if we truly go towards like the Oculus? Like I don't really think that's going to happen anytime really soon, but just pretend it did. All of a sudden, like all of those platforms, like if you can't adapt pretty quickly, that could have been a total waste of money in that investment. So I think it's kind of a high risk thing to buy Zynga at this point, but that's just me.
Let's move on to the next story, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but I do want to let everybody know, if you didn't know this or didn't hear us talk about it earlier, the Hitman, the entire trilogy, is coming next week, and it's coming to Game Pass as well. IO Interactive, this is coming, from IGN, Jared Moore. IO Interactive has announced that the Hitman Trilogy Collection will be launching next week, and it's coming straight to Game Pass. They are combining all three of its Hitman games into one single package that fans will be able to get their hands on next week, officially launching on January 20th. It will be available on all the systems, but Chance, do I need to start at the beginning of Hitman, or could I just skip it and go straight to Hitman 3, which I hear is the best one ever? Is it worth my time to play all of them?
Knowing you will want to, maybe not 1,000 out of 1,000, because I just heard your resolution, but I think you'll want to do more than just like kind of breeze through the levels, just because of the way those games are, right? Like if you just wanted to get start to finish a level, get to the next level, you could find a way to do it in probably 5 minutes on each level. You could easily start with 3, yeah. I believe there should be, pretty sure there's at the beginning of 3, there's like a recap of 1 and 2, and the story isn't anything groundbreaking and earth-shattering, but it is there, and it's worth watching that recap. I think you could watch it, and this is going to sound weird, but it's not even going to spoil all of the fantastic things of 1 and 2. It'll spoil the story, but it's not going to spoil all the locations and how cool those are. It's not going to spoil what makes Hitman so fun, which is trying different routes, right? And being like, well, this time I want to sneak in wearing that rubber ducky suit, and this time I want to sneak in being a bartender. And you could absolutely start with 3.
Would you say all 3 are worth my time, though?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Most certainly.
Jose, are you going to...
They're just good. And the other thing I'll say is when 3 came out, they spent a lot of time updating 2 and 1 to all the controls, all the graphical fidelity and FPS and everything of 3. So 2 and 1 now are basically just add-on levels to 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Jose, do you have any interest in this, or have you played any of them?
I've never played them. I think I started the movie when it came out, and that lasted like 18 minutes. I do have one question for Chance before I answer. What do you think total playtime is for 1 and 2 and 3? Like not finding all crazy collectibles and stuff, but just like a pretty general
playthrough. Go back. I'll
look it up on how long to beat right now, Chance. Go ahead, Jose.
I was going to see how many hours I put into it, but
you could do that too. Well, you do tend to do more.
Because here's the thing, I actually would like to play it, and if I have time, I probably will start with just 3. You know what I'm saying? And here's why. So Elden Ring is what, February 25th, I think. We're basically a month and a half out from Elden Ring, and in that time, I would like to get through Dark Souls 3. You know, I told you I started Aliens Fireteam. I actually think it's going to be a pretty short game because it's not quite what I expected in terms of like progression. It's actually a pretty linear, pretty simple projection, and so I'm actually anticipating getting through it pretty quickly. But just still, to get through Dark Souls in anticipation of Elden Ring, like that's not a lot of time, and so squeezing Hitman 3 might be a challenge because I really don't want to start it and then forget it with Elden Ring and then to go back. I don't think that would happen, so we'll see. I'm not opposed to it. I'm glad it's coming. I hope it sticks around for a while. I would like to pick it up.
Not enough time.
So main objectives, Hitman 3, 8 hours.
Okay. Probably the same for the others.
That's not too bad.
Or less.
And it's what's cool about so cool about 3 is it those main objectives, the way it does it is there's usually like 2 or 3, sometimes like 5 different kind of stories within the story going on each level, and they kind of guide you to them and then let you figure the stuff out, if that makes sense. I just thought they were so incredibly well done.
Here's the real question, Chance. Should I replay the Mass Effect trilogy, all 3 games, or play Hitman?
Well, your resolution was to play whatever you wanted to play, right?
Mass Effect it is. You know what? I should have added this as another resolution. I would like to get through my PlayStation backlog. I still have a few games on there. I still have Horizon, and I still have Detroit. I never played Detroit. I still have stupid Days Gone, even though I don't own that game anymore.
Don't say stupid Days Gone. And I just saw an article about the director of that game being like, I don't get it. I still don't get it to this day. Like,
you launched the broken game, is why. When it launched, it was broken. The Dukes were talking about it too. Some people really hate the story too. I heard
the story was so good. It was 1,000 times better than The Last of Us.
Oh,
you know, for the record,
as much chance I hate The Last of Us, but I really just hated the. Actually, you know what? I do dislike a lot of The Last of Us. He got way too connected to Ellie, way too fast. Like it did. That was a little weird. Let's be real, guys. Especially at the end. It's so selfish. Anyway, sorry, Jose. Go ahead. Spoilers.
I was going to say, you know, I still do maintain. I know we're an Xbox podcast, but I still maintain that Horizon was an awesome game. Like absolutely worth your time. Dude.
I've heard mixed reviews on that.
I thought it was cool, man. I mean, I actually wanted to play through the whole thing, which for an open world game that's big, that's saying a lot. The other thing I was going to say, did you guys hear recently? It's not in our news, but I guess Sony actually started producing more PlayStation 4s.
Okay,
recently.
well, let's roll. Hold on, we're going to roll right into that. Thanks for bringing that up.
We're going to talk about that.
So we're going to talk about this. Recently, Phil Spencer did a podcast interview with the New York Times, and I'm going to pull some stuff from it because it's a long transcript and like probably a good podcast. I didn't get a chance to listen to it all, so maybe you guys, it's in the link on the Xbox. But anyway, so speaking of the console thing, so Daniel Ahmad over on Twitter, he is a video games industry senior analyst for Nico Partners. I believe he's in China, but he tweeted out after Eurogamer said the Series XS is Microsoft's fastest selling console this generation despite supply constraints, and this was coming from what Phil Spencer had said in this interview. This would put the Series XS over 12 million shipped according to our estimates. The dual SKU strategy has paid off for Microsoft amid the supply chain issue / semiconductor shortage. Increased production of S allowed for more Xboxes on the shelves than if they had only done the X. And so I want to tie that into what Jose said. Yes, Jose, you just mentioned that PlayStation announced that they're going to continue to produce and increase production. I don't know if it was increase, but maintain the production of the PS4 through next year, I want to say, Jose. Whereas Microsoft discontinued completely manufacturing Xbox One last at the end of 2020, I believe.
Yeah.
So first of all, congrats to Microsoft on selling 12 million. If I'm sure they have, that's right behind PlayStation, where estimates were like 13 million or 13 to 15 in North America or whatever it was. So they're selling well. I mean, demand is still there for they always sell out every time. X, especially, you can see S's easily. Like you can probably go buy one on Amazon right now, but that kind of totally so backing up again, the whole strategy thing at the beginning of this generation, Xbox was like, we are going to have cross-gen games, and we are going to have the Series S and X, and we are going to continue to support Xbox One and through like 2022, right from the beginning. Sony back then, before the launch of PS5, we believe in generations. Oh, actually, we don't. We're going to backtrack that. All of our games so far have been cross-gen, except for Demon's Souls. Spider-Man, you can play on both. For Horizon, you're going to be able to play on both. God of War, you're going to be able to play on PS4 and PS5. I'm not sure about Gran Turismo, but I'm guessing you can. So Sony backtracking, saying, oh gosh, actually, you know what? We don't believe in generations either. We're going to have this cross-gen stuff, just like Xbox did earlier. And not only that, we're having trouble meeting demand for PS5, which is great for them, but that means we need to produce more PS4s, where Xbox was like, let's have our big dog, the Series X, the most powerful console, and then let's give people an option to enter that's not quite as possible, but is still that next gen leap and is quite affordable with the Series S at $300. And so you can either get right now a brand new PS4 is $299. I just saw it, and that's where it's selling at Walmart, at Sony Direct, or you can buy a Series S for $299. So the different strategies, Jose, put it all together. You wanted to bring up all of this. So tell me what you were thinking about, what I've just kind of described there with the different takes and how it's selling and what they're selling.
I mean, honestly, what I took away from it that I was really happy about, because I know when you hear it, you're thinking we're just going to bash PlayStation. I'm not. Two things.
Yeah,
One
and I'm not either.
actually,
let me just say that, they're both selling phenomenally, but I think PlayStation has definitely been hypocritical and gone back on what they've said clearly, like clear examples of saying, no, we believe in generations. These are going to be next gen only stuff. And then they're putting them on those, and they're producing more PlayStation 4s compared to Xbox, who's ended their production of Xbox One. But rightfully so, the Xbox One is not as good of a console as the PS4 was versus what the Series X and S are now. Both great. I just want to point out, everybody was giving Xbox a lot of crap at the beginning of this, and look who's right. Look who knew what they were talking about. Sorry, go ahead, Jose.
I mean, the two things I was going to bring up were basically, it makes me really happy that there are so many people playing games. Like, that's what I was actually, that when I first read this article, I was like, that's incredible that both the Series X, the PS5 are still sold out everywhere. Like, every time they drop, they sell out within minutes still. And I know that's frustrating. Like, I understand the frustration, but I think it also points really well to Pete that this art form, this industry is really thriving right now, which I think is really cool. In terms of the economics of like choosing the Series S versus bringing back the PS4, I do think it's a win for Microsoft. I think that they did make the smart choice by having the two SKUs, like they talked about, having a less powerful like hardware. And you're right. I just checked right now on Amazon. You can buy a Series S right now if you wanted one, which is, I mean, it's they hit it out of the park. They know what they're doing. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, and I'm curious to see how this will play out in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years, especially if we ever talk about like a mid-cycle refresh. So one of my cousins through marriage is probably the best way to describe it. He is a hardcore PlayStation guy. He has been his whole life. I have tried legitimately to get him a PlayStation for like 2 years now. I've talked to Dan about it a couple times even, and we couldn't get one for him. And I actually saw him over Christmas, and I said, you still want me to send you stuff about PS5? He said, actually, I think I'm gonna pick up an Xbox. And I was floored. And I said, why, man? I'm just curious, like, not trying to influence him. He said, he goes, the Game Pass thing is really intriguing to me. I used to play it for my buddies, but a lot of them aren't playing right now. And I just love games, and I feel like I kind of want to try it. And I was like, well, dude, you can join our crew anytime and game it. And so I'm now trying to help him find a Series X. But I think that story is pretty intriguing in the world of gaming, right? Like, how many people will we see switch, and maybe both ways, that go from Xbox to PS5 or vice versa in this generation because of things like the chip shortages, the availability of games. Like, I know we already talked about how Sony was basically laughing off Microsoft for Games Pass, and now they're like, hey, we have this thing coming down the road, you should check it out. I mean, like, it is interesting really to see what's going to come of this, because I think some pretty significant changes will come over the next couple of years in this world, and I'm excited to be here for it and talk about it along the way.
Yeah. And going along with that, Jose, and just availability of consoles. I think you said how many people are going to just get an Xbox, not only because of Game Pass, but some people are going to get the Xbox first because they can, I'm just going to get a Series S now, and then down the road they'll get their PS5. But I mean, as long as Microsoft sells one of them, it doesn't matter to them. Or even if they're paying on PC, all they care about is getting you in the ecosystem, and I think it's really smart.
Yep.
Bubble Boy, any thoughts on the Cole cross-gen Series S versus PS4 and all that? And I, like Jose said, this is great. You're right. Like, this is going to be a great generation of gaming regardless. And hopefully Nintendo will bring something. But you know what? They don't really have to, because Nintendo Switch is still like the number one best-selling console. I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, it's crazy. Go ahead, Chance.
I don't have a whole lot more to add that I can think of. I mean, I think you guys kind of said everything that I had been thinking. I do wish that, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but I noticed the Sony America CEO guy is on some of those Power On episodes, so he obviously has some admiration for Microsoft, but I would love to see them be like, oh yeah, we're going back on this because of what Xbox did, right? Like, to really give them the credit rather than just copy them. Or I saw some rumors about PlayStation setting XYZ up to see if, as the baby brother to possibly doing something like Game Pass for PlayStation. And I just really hope they give credit where credit's due.
That'll never happen. Sony just doesn't.
Yeah, I don't
like
think
that.
so either, man. But maybe.
But you're
Who
right.
knows?
They just pulled those like PlayStation Now cards, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing this because we want you to spend PlayStation money on it." No, they're setting up for Spartacus or whatever their Game Pass.
It's going to be called Play Pass, and they're like, what, "Game Pass? I know, we've never heard of it. Tell us about it."
You know what?
It's
Play
actually
Pass would be
Play
pretty good. I'm
Pass,
not gonna lie.
and-
That actually would be hilarious if
That
they're
would-
like, we've spent 48 hours on this name. And
We hired all these consultants. And
we
they
thought
came
about
up-
Vibe or Carpet Ride, but we went with Play Pass instead.
Play Pass. Guys, I wanted to bring up, along with the article, was Phil Spencer saying, they want to work together on cross-platform bans, and how Xbox and Xbox Live or Network or whatever it is not an open platform. Did you guys want to say anything to that, or should we?
That's the
shell
part
it?
I wanted to talk about.
Okay,
actually.
go ahead. Wait, do you want me to read a quick excerpt?
Yeah,
about it?
do.
Okay, so this is coming from Tom Phillips over on Eurogamer. This is what Phil Spencer. Something I would love for us to be able to do, and this is a hard one as an industry, is when somebody gets banned in one of our networks, is there a way for us to ban them across other networks? Another idea would be the ability to apply cross-platform user blocking, so that someone harassing another person could not just turn to a different platform to continue their abuse. Spencer said he wanted to be able to bring my banned user list to other networks where I play. So this is the group of people I choose not to play with, because I don't want to have to recreate that in every platform I play video games on. And then Spencer continued, on the top of keeping Xbox clear of toxic content, Spencer made a point that it was not a free speech platform. We are a platform around interactive entertainment and video games, and we're not there to allow all kinds of social discourse to happen on our platform. That's not why we exist. Dodging a question on whether Xbox was better at content moderation than social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, Spencer said, the transparency of our business model, where people paid for and enjoyed video games instead of being tempted to click tumultuous topics that drive most clicks, made things more straightforward. We don't get paid on Xbox by how many times you click on something, Spencer concluded. I get paid on how many times your kids like playing Minecraft. And I do think that transparency in the gaming space means that we have to be very, very consistent with our customers, because we almost have more have a subscription relationship with our customer, that if you logged on into Minecraft tomorrow and had a bad experience, you might never come back. Chance,
he's absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to read that last sentence. It is great. Like, Chance, go ahead, give me your thoughts on the whole ban thing and the free speech and everything.
I was so excited. The two things I wanted to talk about for sure were the banning and the free speech. And I think the banning, what's so cool is because it's starting to chip away at hiding behind a screen and internet anonymity, right? And I think, especially, I don't have to tell two other dudes who work in a high school how damaging anonymity on the internet is. And I wish we lived in a world where, like, my Bubble Boy in 7, right? Like, anything I ever do on the internet is attached to Bubble Boy in 7, right?
Oh, it is.
And, well, in a public way, right? Like, I know they're watching, and that's okay. If they need to know how many times I click on whatever I click on, good by me, right?
Just
'Cause I got
pooping, you
nothing
know
to
how I
hide.
be.
Yeah. They're like, man, those guys fart a lot. Like, I think we can watch somebody else. But no, I love it because I can't even imagine how many fights and drama and BS wouldn't happen in schools today if it weren't for, or if they didn't have that veil to hide behind, that veil of anonymity. So I love that he's doing that. I think Microsoft's in a perfect position to be the one who does that, and he kind of touched on it there. Like, he's like, okay, so you get banned from Halo, great, you're just going to go play Call of Duty, right? But now that we as Microsoft are the ones who can kind of say, across all Microsoft games, here are the bans, and then help with, now it's going to Sony, and now it's also going to Nintendo so that it doesn't happen, period. I love it. I absolutely love it. And especially with someone with small kids, so I hope to get into the hobby just beyond happy and proud that it's Xbox leading the way on that.
A quick question. Chance, does Nintendo have an online gaming
Yeah.
platform?
So PC Master Race, and Steam and stuff like that. So as far as the First Amendment stuff, I also love that. I hope it doesn't turn political. It's almost impossible that it's not going to. And of course, when you're talking about the First Amendment, right, like that in itself is politics. But he didn't mean it that way, right? What he meant was, no, you should never have the right to treat somebody that horribly and to say the kinds of things that you say. That's not political. I'm not trying to say that you don't have rights and blah 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 blah, right? Like, I know in my heart that's not what he meant by it, and I hope there aren't people that are like, well, screw that, he's taking away my First Amendment. I'm PlayStation all the way now. Good, because they're probably the same people providing all that toxicity in the first place anyway. So I don't know. I had Ashley and I had a actually really long conversation about that exact interview last night or 2 nights ago. I can't remember. And she was just like, wow, that is really cool. That makes me happy that that's happening.
So let me just interrupt really quick, Chance, before I throw it to Jose. Technically, you do throw away your First Amendment rights as soon as you sign some terms of service.
Yes. No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, like, people are like, you know what, guess what? Everything you hold, you probably sign something. Your First Amendment rights are gone. Like, it's
exactly.
Anyway,
I didn't say that they weren't. I'm saying like I hope that people don't take it to the point where they're like, oh well, he must be he's a communist, and so I'm not playing those games.
Gotcha.
Nope. You already agreed to it, and just be nice, and then you have nothing to worry about.
And on that, be nice, Jose. I'm gonna throw it over to you. Let me give you this question. I'm all for people getting banned, but I also think there should be a way for you to get off that banned list as well. Like, we can make mistakes and learn and grow. What does the other side look like to get yourself off of this permanent ban? Because we all know, actually we don't know, some people might know, DaddyDWALLY got perma-banned off a Mixer and earned his way back, but then they shut down Mixer. That's a story for another time. But Jose, go ahead and tell me your thoughts on the article.
You pronounced it wrong. It was Tinder that you got banned from.
Oh no, I was a star on Tinder.
Not Mixer.
I was promoted on Tinder. Go ahead, Jose.
You know, I know this is probably a segment where we're all patting each other's backs. I read this and I was like, man, this is the content that I'm here for, especially from a company that I revere very heavily, and that obviously is a big part of my life in this podcast and everything. And a lot of it is for the same reasons as Chance, you know, not just school. I mean, school does obviously influence, and I'm a firm believer in the giving people the freedom to choose, right? But also understanding that all choices come with consequences, right? It's something that we instill not only in my own children in my house, but in their students at school, that, like, you know, part of being a child is making mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of the growing up process, but some of that is learning from that and improving from that. And when you choose to continue to be disruptive, violent, mean, like, that's not okay. And here's the thing. The other piece that I relate to this and why I think this is so powerful is we were fortunate enough to grow up as all of this has grown up too, right? So like we haven't made it a secret that we grew up in a time when there wasn't chatting on your game console. Like you could only chat if you were playing couch co-op. Like we have literally seen the advent of voice interaction online and the ability to meet strangers. And there are some really beautiful things that come from that. It's really awesome that my best friends, the 10 of us who don't live anywhere near each other in Colorado, can literally get together every night to talk about our day, to talk about our kids, to talk about our jobs. Like that is such an incredible thing. But because we've also grown up in that, we've also learned how to manage that. And so when we meet people who are belligerent or ignorant or whatever, we usually just laugh them off and walk away. Unfortunately, though, because we're talking about all like levels of society, we have lots of kids today who are just getting into gaming, maybe for the first time with the Series X or with the tower that they built that they're really proud of. And it is incredibly terrifying that the first experience they could have is someone being bigoted, sexist, or just being an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm on Twitter a lot too, and I follow a lot of people that are like professional streamers. It is incredible the things that people will say to streamers, especially some of the females, that is just horrific. And they think it's okay or they think it's funny because there are no real consequences in the context of anonymity. Like Chance just said, that is absolutely not okay. And so I think it's really cool that we're taking steps. I agree that you should be able to be banned. Like, again, make the choice. There are consequences. You know, even Handsome Phantom, I was watching him stream the other day on Sea of Thieves, man, and there was this boat that they were, like, at first they were, like, playfully jumping together, and then this dude jumped aboard their ship, and he said some of the most, like, ignorant, historically racist stuff that, I was like, whoa. And it was a live stream. Like, that's not obviously Ben's fault, but, like, I was really proud of Ben because he talked about like, I'm gonna ban this dude. Like I'm gonna like write his information down. I have recording of it because he was streaming. Like the follow through, I think, is really what's important about changing some of the toxic culture. And I don't mean to say that all gaming is toxic. It's really not. It's really a small subsection, but it's such a powerful and loud subsection that we need to do something to change it. So I think this is really great. I hope it's something we're able to move forward. And again, I don't. It's not like because we're trying to ruin gaming or saying gaming is bad, but it's like, you can't just hide behind a screen anymore, like Chance said, and it be okay. We have to start doing something if we want this world to change. And I think we do, and I think there's enough adults and powerful people that want that to change that we can make a significant change, which is great.
Very, very well said, Jose. Let's end the story on that and go. Guys, this is going to be our good old days segment, I've decided, because a lot of this is nostalgia. Chance, we'll save the Netflix for the opener next week. Is that okay? So let's jump into Power On, the story of Xbox, episode 4. Cool. Now what? And the reason why I say this is very good old days oriented is you're going to hear this. This was, man, Jose, you said this was your favorite episode earlier. I loved it as well too. Allie, not so much, because she was seeing me gush over all of my Halo memories.
I hope you tell the story about your gamer score.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So let's get into the notes. Feel free to jump in whenever. So we're on episode 4, 6 months before the launch. That we're going back in time of Halo and Xbox. Bungie has to seal themselves off in everywhere to prepare for launch. Joseph Staten said, "Oh my gosh, when the game finally came out, people actually like our game. They had no idea. They had no idea if people really love it. And then it turned out to be a massive success." Shout out to QB1, Jason Street from Friday Night Lights, aka Scott Porter, on his love for Halo. And Phil Spencer, one of his quotes was, "Without Halo, we are not here." Bonnie Ross, "Halo changed the game for Xbox, but really for first-person shooters on console. Also, huge shout out. Ryan McCaffrey makes his appearance at this point.
Yeah, he did.
He talks about Halo and the LAN parties. My gosh, we could talk. We've already talked about LAN parties forever. LAN parties working. I tried to explain this to Allie. She's like, "Wait, you would lug TVs?" And I'm like, "Yes, Allie. We would have TVs in separate rooms. We'd connect to the router, and we would play in other rooms, and then the screen watching and everything." She's like, "Wait, so like what you do now with your friends?" I'm like, "Yes, exactly. We couldn't do this before. You couldn't game online."
Did she see the one where the kids
yes,
put the cardboard?
She laughed. She laughed at that part. She could relate for sure.
Yeah.
So another shout out: Snoop Dogg enters the documentary, and having Xbox. He said having an Xbox and a flat screen in the back of your car was a fashion statement back in the day. And then after Halo was such a huge hit, we get to the launch of Xbox Live. Jose, Chance, do you want to add anything before we jump into that? Any thoughts?
Well, I loved they kept kind of going back to the short clip of the people trying to lug that big screen TV that was.
That's what
back
Snelling.
in the day,
Snelling
like,
has one of those in his basement right now that he just
Does he
refuses
really?
to do anything with.
It's never getting out of there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. That like I can't even imagine, because my guess is, those were high school to college kids that didn't pay for that TV, and I can't even imagine if Dad came home and was like, "Whoa, what? Get that thing down!" Like, dude, I paid $600 for that thing.
I remember us lugging those 32-inch CRT TVs. Kids these days just won't know. Jose, go ahead.
That was one of my favorite quotes, and that's two things I wanted to mention was that they said the quote was, "Hey, bring a TV," and like that was like a legit conversation that gamers would have. Like, "Hey, it's going down at this kid's house on Friday. Junior's bringing his Xbox. We got Bobby bringing his. But hey, you come?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, like, can you bring a TV? I'll bring a TV." And yeah, literally like I need your help. It's slipping. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they were so heavy, man. It was just it was incredible. And the other thing that I think it was Bonnie that mentioned it. Maybe it wasn't.
There was another woman. She had a really good comment. I can't remember who it was, but
she was a G4 reporter. But she said when you played those LAN parties, especially like the 16 player where they're multi-room and everyone's there and pizza and whatever, time disappears. I thought that was such a poetic way of describing that feeling and why we're so nostalgic for it, because you we're meeting there at 8 p.m. and it was like midnight before you knew it, and you're like, "Oh my God, my mom's gonna murder me," thinking about drinking and partying and doing drugs. You're like, "What were you doing?" I was losing in Halo. Like, that's literally what we were doing, man. It was incredible.
And I love how you just worded that too, because like that's one of my most fond memories with Baca was like we'd have Friday football, we'd play at the park, and then we would literally get food and then go to Baca's house, lug all the TVs, and instead of going and partying and getting girls and doing all kinds of other mischief, we were just playing Halo for hours, and it was ridiculous. The coolest of cool guys, like these are guys who I'm like, oh, they're usually going to go party. Well, I'm going to go and play video games. We were all gaming together, so I loved how that brought us all together. And that, speaking of bringing us all together, exactly. This is where Xbox Live is being developed as well. So the LAN parties was just the beginning. Xbox Online and, quote, the X Zone internal research, voice communication they found from these research groups, these pioneers, these kids, was going to be huge. This was before Skype, I remember, was one of the quotes. Your gamer tag was going to be another huge part of Xbox, the X Zone. Your identity on Xbox Live. The birth of DWALLY 17 years ago on Xbox Live. But then there's also people who thought Xbox Live is a horrible idea. Who is going to pay for multiplayer and pay to play online? But then November 15th, 2002, a year after the launch of the OG Xbox, Xbox Live launches. And shout out to Manning, all the celebrities, Ryan McCaffrey talking on there. And any comments on the launch of Xbox Live, you guys? Do you remember?
Well, I love how they called it the original social media.
Yes, too. I was just gonna. Major Nelson said Xbox Live was one of the first social media platforms.
Facebook,
he's absolutely right, Jose.
Yep.
Okay.
He's absolutely right.
Thank you. Okay.
And then I loved how, what it shows what Microsoft and the Xbox has evolved from. That idea of the gamer tag, it probably wasn't necessarily for to keep people in line back at the time and make sure they didn't just hide behind a nameless thing, but it was something that you could take from game to game, right? And I can remember Jose saying how back in those original ones, when you were playing Halo in the dorms, we're all gonna have cheese themed names this time, or we're all gonna have
Marvel
underwear
characters.
themed, right? Not anymore, right? Chipotle Bear is there to stay. So,
yeah. I was going to say, one of the things that I thought that I thought was so incredible, they talked about when the first idea for Xbox Live got pitched, in the boardroom, it was basically the equivalent of a bunch of stoners 6 hours into a session being like, it'd be sweet, man. imagine if we were all on our couches and we could just talk and we could just play Madden together, and people be like, whoa, man. I mean, like, it was literally a cosmic unknown. Like, that's really cool. That's going to be like when we have flying cars and we solved world peace. Like, it was seen as that kind of thing. And so, and then they just said, like, we're going to build this. So let's ask the gamers what they want. And yep, they wanted the digital ID. And you do think about how powerful that is today, in the sense that, like, how much of your time, your memories, your achievements are tied to that name. You know, but the other thing they wanted was the headset, right? They were like, we don't want to text to each other.
Yeah, we don't
right?
want to
We don't want a
type to each
little
other.
attachment.
Yeah.
We want a legitimate headset to talk to each other. And I guess in the early days, because you know, not everybody, not all your friends had it and stuff. Like, you were literally making friends with people you never met face to face.
Pendog. Shout out to
never
Pendog.
saw, dude. Like, that is, even to me, is insane by modern standards, but it's the way this all started. You have to give respect to that kind of stuff. It's awesome,
It's so
man.
true, Jose. I'll never forget that headset because it was so cool, because it kind of like rested back here. It was like a horizontal headset. And then, dude, I guarantee if I heard Pendog's voice, the old man I used to game on Ghost Recon, I would know exactly who it was. Like, it's that ingrained into my mind. Like, it's so, what you said rings so loudly for me about, you know, knowing somebody just by their voice. And it's so true. So Xbox Live is nice, right? But where is Halo? Joseph Staten said Bungie was great about coming up with ideas, but we weren't the best at executing all of these cool ideas while developing Halo 2. Bungie needed more time. They needed another year. And Robbie agreed with Ed Freeze. And they went into the boardroom, and Microsoft people, they all wanted to keep the original launch. But Robbie was like, you know what? We have to give them another year. And they got it. They granted Bungie another year. But in January of 2004, that after all of this had happened, this is when Ed Freeze left Xbox and Microsoft. November 9th, flash forward to November 9th, 2004, and the launch of Halo 2. Guys, speaking of another good old days memory, I will never forget standing outside of the line at GameStop in Boulder at the 20th Street Mall. And
Greeley for me.
basically anyone who went to see you at the time was in line. I saw football players, I saw the basketball players, I saw super nerds, I saw just normal people like us. I would say normal people. You know what I mean? Like, incredible. Just the line wrapping around. We waited, probably didn't get to the game until 3 a.m., going back to the house, jumping onto Xbox Live for the first time for Halo. Baca had driven down from Fort Collins. He stayed up till 6 a.m. playing. I had to go to bed, got up at 10, went to class, came back at like 3. And Baca's still playing that whole entire time. It was insane. 2.4 million copies of Halo 2 sold in 24 hours, $125 million in sales. And around this time, Xbox was selling more than Nintendo around this time. And let's stop there. Any thoughts on Halo 2 and the launch? Give me some of your memories there, Jose.
I was going to say, just one quick other thing I forgot to mention with the Xbox Live, and then I have a lot to say about Halo, was they even said early on that the idea of having this place to talk with your friends, even if they were friends you made online, was really a way that you build community. And you think about how today, like, why did I buy an Xbox? Because you guys have an Xbox, right? Like, that's really one of the defining reasons why I didn't buy a PS5, or at least not yet, was because I want to play with my friends. Like, that really all started from this idea of online multiplayer. And yes, Halo was one of the central reasons why that was the case. And similarly to Dan, I went to school up in Greeley, Colorado. For those not in Colorado, that's like a city that's about an hour north of Denver. It's not
Harvard
a
of the West.
small town. Yeah, it's definitely the Harvard of the West, but it's a relatively small community. And even then, I remember so clearly, I was already living in a house with my fraternity brothers, like a separate house. And I remember, like, I go to the launch and I'm thinking, like, no one's gonna be at GameStop. It's like 11:30, dude. There was a line around the freaking corner. Everyone's high fiving, people sharing snacks, like, and I've never met these people, right? Like, and in hindsight, I wish I would have asked for some of their, like, gamer tags. You know what I'm saying? I could have made some dope friends to have on there, but they were just good people who loved this game. And yeah, I think I got my copy at like 12:45 a.m. and I had to go to class the next morning. And I did go to class, like, I was a good kid, but then literally got home immediately and just straight into Halo with my roommates and friends and stuff. And just, you know, I really admired the quote that McCaffrey said. He goes, I literally played that game every day for a year. And I don't know if I was quite there, but I was probably close. Like, easily 80% of the days for the next year was like, you want to get on? We got a couple minutes. Yeah, let's hit a match. And we knew all the levels by heart, where all the drops were by heart. Like it was awesome.
And so, and like that was one of the first games to have DLC and map packs come out as well. And I also remember like people pulling out the Ethernet cord. There's like all those glitches you could do, and people would like lag you out. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. The super jumps, crazy. A Chance, I'm just curious. Did you have any memories of this, or were you too busy in your room playing Final Fantasy or something at the time?
Final Fantasy X was my freshman year of college, not our sophomore year of college. So thank you very much. And I had the exact same memories as you guys, but just in Denver at Regis instead of CU or UNC. What it made me think of is, I don't know if our kids are going to get that memory ever. I don't know if they're going to have something like that, right? I am paranoid, and without telling you too much of my backstory, anytime I picture those lines and that many crowds of people, I picture, well, that's ripe for the next match shooting, right? And I'm like, oh God, I'm not doing that ever again.
That's a sign of education talking right there.
Exactly, right? And so I don't know that any of our daughters or one son will ever get to experience something like that. And it was so cool, right? Because it didn't matter. And I loved how you said there were football players, and we're not talking like the guy on the football team. We're talking D1, full ride scholarship, probably headed to the NFL football players, right next to, Nerd who
Nerdy DWALLY. Yep, exactly.
Right next to Stelling in there.
Everybody cheering for the same thing, same cause.
Just happy and excited.
No hate. I mean, sure, there's a little bit of something at some point, but like
bringing us together.
Mm-hmm. So.
The closest thing our kids will probably have is the equivalent of like pre-downloading. How we do, like, did you get that pre-download so we can jump on right at 12:01? I mean, it's not the same fanfare.
Man. I'm even thinking like other events, like maybe like a state championship game, maybe where all the hype is around it, like bringing everyone together.
But like a physical item that they walk out.
That has like sense of actual accomplishment.
I'm just saying like that so maybe like I'm saying that might be the closest thing, but like video game related wise, I can't tell you, like meeting.
Actually, tell you what might be is esports. That could be something down the road. You go to like an esports championship and you see like your favorite celebrity gamer. You never know.
But again, with the technology is, why would I want to go when I could have the broadcast at home and watch it better and
watch the Halo.
And then as soon as it's over, get all jazzed and start playing it myself or something. I don't know. I just
it's weird. So let's continue. Peter Moore, we got to get Peter Moore on the show. Love Peter Moore. He was there for the glory years. He enters and starts planning for the Xbox 360 right after this is probably, I can't remember when they said exactly, but probably before the launch of Halo 2. The 360 was developed to be 5 to 10 times more powerful than the OG Xbox. More internal engineering was happening in-house for the 360. Along with the 360 hardware achievements are created with the Xbox 360. And then the whole social center hub, access to digital games. The Xbox 360 had 0 hour on November 9th of 2005. So yeah, this was only a year after Halo 2 launch on the OG Xbox. They had a giant hangar full of Xbox 360s to play and buy first. Shout out again to all the celebs who were there. And then on November 22nd, 2005, we had the launch of the Xbox 360, the first console to have, like I said, the digital marketplace achievements, the external hard drive, which you could remove, and I guess it is internal. I don't know. Well, you know what I mean, where you can remove it and upgrade it. And then the 360 was high definition, cheaper, more powerful, had the online infrastructure, connected social platform. And this was supposed to be the great start of the next generation. And then that is how the episode ends. Bubble Board, probably bear any thoughts there?
Well, that's not exactly how it ended.
Well, yeah, it was, because I don't want to talk about what they're leading into. That was how that's basically how it ended. Yes, they're talking about the Red Ring of Death. Yeah, okay, we're going to talk about the Red Ring of Death. Okay, Jose, any thoughts on the last segment or anything I missed from the summary of episode 4?
So a couple of things were pretty interesting, and full disclosure here. So what's interesting about this period of time for me was that this was actually the period of time where I stopped playing Xbox for a little bit because I went to PS3. And a lot of that was because of Chance. I'll be super honest, because he was going to get a PS3, and like my best friend at the time, like still best friend now, like with Dan, like that's what I was going to do. And so I didn't get into the necessarily the 360 hype, but in learning about it, some of the things that I thought were pretty cool were there as they planned for this object, they said, we want it to be high def. We want it to be wireless. That was really big at the time, having wireless controllers, wireless everything, wireless headset, and always connected, right? Connected to the internet, so you're getting updates for your games, you're getting updates for your console. That was big. And they basically said, like, look, you know how much the PS2 was a leapfrog product for that generation of games where it just crushed that. We want that same thing for this generation. We're going to do that. We're going to put everything into it. We're building our own chips. Like, we're going to do this. And they really did. You know, obviously pending the Red Ring of Death, which I know we're going to talk about next episode and stuff. This really was an incredible system. And it's actually why not too much later I did buy another 360, right? And it was actually when Chance and I lived together, because that's when we got back together with Commander Shepard over here and played Bad Code 2 forever with the whole squad. And when Matt used to play games with us, Ponyboy, you know, like it was an incredible accomplishment for them. They really did everything right this time. They had the fanfare, they had the hardware, they had the games. Like, they were just ready to freaking crush it, and they really did. And you know, as much as I know Halo is what carries Microsoft in the early years, the 360 is really what elevated it to like the common man's gaming system. Every kid I knew in freaking college had a 360. And granted, Greeley is not the epicenter of gaming reality, but the fact is, I'm sure it was the same across most campuses at that time. They were available, right? You could buy them, and everybody freaking wanted them. And yeah, having the cordless thing definitely helped. Having the wireless stuff, having the connections, and the fact that most dorms in that era were built around some kind of network where you could actually compete with people in it internally was a big deal. Like, people don't think about that, but that was a huge impact for how this was able to work.
And I'm glad you said that. Like, they got everything right, and they were hungry, and they got a head start. They jumped a year before PS3 launched. And I got to go back and look at when I got one, because I don't remember exactly when or why I got one. I think I didn't get one right away. I remember that. It might have just been because I was poor and, like, you know, couldn't afford it. But you know what this reminds me of, Jose?
The first day of the rest of our lives?
No. Quick guess. Look at the launch of the Xbox Series S and S, you guys. It seems to me like they were getting some of that same momentum that they had with the 360 with. They got the hardware right. They've learned from their mistakes. They're getting those IP. They've had a strong year in 2021. I think this is going to be, you know, a very similar generation for Xbox as the 360 was. And they're here to compete with Sony.
And that just means that we have countless blockbusters ahead of us, right?
Yeah, for PlayStation and Xbox
think about,
and Nintendo.
They haven't even gotten to the Skyrims and the GTA 5s and the Red Deads, and right when at this point in the series. And so, we have so much good stuff to come.
Exciting. So that has been episode 4 of Power On, the story of Xbox. We will do episode 5 and 6, and then, guys, after we do that, I think we should do our game of the year. I think we've had enough time, and then I've got something exciting planned for old Bubble Boy. I think he's going to be really excited what we're going to do in February with the show, and I'm going to keep it a secret.
We have to have a spoiler cast of Halo soon too.
I think we can just include that on game of the year, because spoilers. Yeah, okay, you know what I mean.
It was your game of the year.
You know it, baby. So let's save it for that. Guys, let's do the best food we had this week. Would anyone like to go first, or would you know what? I'll go ahead and go first. Guys, the best food I had this week, shockingly, Jose, I did not get Popeyes this week. I am shocked.
Betrayal.
Yes. I don't know what's going on. I even thought about getting it today, but I was like, do I want to wait in line? And I looked over at I-70 in Peoria. Didn't do it, even though I should have, because I waited in line to turn left for like 3 stop signals. That was a pain. I should have just gotten the sandwich. So it was not Popeyes. Another huge shout out to my wife, Allie Wolenzik. This week, guys, I'm not even a ribs kind of guy. I don't really like ribs, to be honest. She cooked some ribs that we had picked up from King Soopers, and I did get them before they were on strike, just so you know. And they were delicious. She made these ribs, and then you get that sweet and sweet and spicy.
Sweet Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. I did not get the one you mentioned, Jose. I did mention it to Allie, though.
Devil Spit.
Devil Spit. Gosh, I got to remember that. And then we also had asparagus. She cooked us some asparagus and then some sweet potatoes. You guys, Allie killed it. And of course, the kids really didn't like it that much, and we just gave them some other caca because they're just idiots. So
Dino chicken nuggets.
Yeah, Allie gets
I can't
so
wait till they're like
discouraged.
25 and they hear this episode. They're like, Dad just called us idiots.
No, but seriously, like she gets so discouraged because like they barely will eat it, and then you'll give them, just a slice of ham. They're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, or PB&J.
I mean, to be fair, it's ham.
Anyway, so shout out again to Allie for a phenomenal meal. Jose or Bubble Boy, go ahead.
So the one I want to shout out this week was actually at my parents' house again. We had just a good old fashioned lasagna, also from King Soopers, also pre-strike, but it was a frozen lasagna, just a meat lasagna, and then a veggie one. And it was delicious, man. Like we're not an Italian family. We definitely don't make lasagna from scratch, but it was really, really good. And shout out to my dad. He wanted to get some like cheese, or he wanted garlic bread. Turns out they didn't have any garlic bread in the King Soopers or at any nearby King Soopers. Because of what was pending coming, they said, we stopped making garlic bread. He was like, okay, cool, man. And so he went to the frozen section and got cheesy garlic bread. And he read the front that said, it said 5 cheese garlic bread, and he just read it as 5 slices of garlic bread. So he bought like 4 boxes. We had like 32 pieces of garlic bread because they had 8 pieces in each box. So I ate a lot of garlic and cheese bread, which was also delicious. Shout out to my dad. But then the other thing I did have again, I did go back to KFC because it's right by work and got that spicy sandwich. It's up there.
Yes,
man.
yes.
I still like the Popeyes one, man. I just had to mention it up there. It was really good for sure. So those are the best things I ate this week for sure, man.
Yeah, I am going to come in with an absolute wild card that I'm sure I'll get crap for many years to come. And I was talking about it just the other day again. I'll give an honorable mention first, though, to Ashley made some stir fry this week with some broccoli and some chicken and rice and throw a bunch of sriracha on there. And it was delicious. And it was definitely the best food I had. But I have to give just shout out beyond shout out to, and hear me out here, tomato soup at Gateway High School from the cafeteria. So if you didn't know, school lunch is free throughout the state of Colorado for everybody because of the COVID situation. And so I have been eating school lunch quite often these days. And I went down there.
School lunch.
I
love school lunch.
Yeah, so I think it was Tuesday, and I'm walking down there, and I'm seeing these kids walking back with, I was like, is it just like a giant bowl of marinara? Like, I'm down, all right. There must be, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's stuffed breadsticks day, right? And it wasn't stuffed breadsticks day, but they cut like sub sandwich bread, and then just bunch of butter and a bunch of cheese on top, and then this just tomato soup that it was incredible. It was so flavorful. Had some basil in there, which I was like, hey, where do you guys get basil from back in the Gateway High School cafeteria? But I even had to tell them the next day when I went down there. I was like, that was top notch, guys. You did a fantastic job on the chunky tomato soup.
I would have never guessed that Bubble Boy was going to say that his school lunch from Gateway is going to be the best food.
I mean, usually I just get
That's
pizza,
insane.
Right? Like, I was absolutely blown away. I was like, Shannon, you have to come try this. Liz, you have to come try this. It's incredible.
Wait, do all the adults get free lunch at your school too, or just the kids? Or do they think
I was going to say,
do
I get free lunch?
I thought it was across the state. Maybe it's
I'm
just
going to have to
APS.
go give me some free lunch. Give Gina a shout.
Yeah, you need to see if this is legitimate or not. Guys, I did a little bit of research.
There are many, many adults that go down. Like, half the counselors go down with me. There's always a handful of math teachers down there when I go, and some English teachers. And you just you get whatever you want. So, like, the other day I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, do I want, I forget what it was. They had, gosh, what was it?
Takis.
Sometimes they've given me those Uncrustables before.
Yeah. Oh, well, those are always on the side. You can get whatever you want. But I was like, I don't know if I want pizza or, and they had these little egg rolls. I was like, pizza, egg rolls. She's like, just take both. What do I eat? We don't give
I'm going to throw it away if you don't.
I was like, yeah.
I don't know. Whatever you want.
Pile it on, baby.
Guys, I tried to do some research, and I think I remember the first achievement I got was Hexic HD, but I'm not seeing it on my gamer score. But other than that, I did find a Call of Duty 2 achievement in March of 2007. So that might be when I got a 360. I feel like
Alan
I got
Wake
it
was
earlier.
my first achievement.
Yeah, that was way late. I'm gonna get back to you on that. So, thank you guys for the best food you had this week. If you'd like to give us some of your best, actually, you know what, Bacon, JBiz, you need to start sending us your best food that you've had this week. We got a lot of catching up to do.
Yep.
Guys, this has been
And
Xbox.
a game I need to try.
Yes, record this episode 37. Thank you so much for listening. My name is DaddyDWALLY. You can find me across all social media at DaddyDWALLY. Chipotle Bear, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Chipotle_Bear, or on Instagram at ChipotleBear.
And Bubble Boy,
At the Gateway High School cafeteria in line getting food. That's where you can find me.
that sounds delicious. As always, gentlemen, see you online.
See you online.
See you online.
Xbox Record This is a podcast created by Daniel Walenzik. You can follow him at DaddyDWALLY on all social media. The assistant to the co-host is Jose Martinez, and you can follow him at Chipotle_Bear on Twitter. The assistant to the co-host is Chance Siegel, and you can follow him at BubbleBoyN7. You can follow the show at Xbox Record This on all social media. If you'd like to find out more about the show, visit xboxrecordthis.com.